Hey everybody, it's the Bald Man once again, and this time I am going to go over the foreign exchange market. Now you can see here we have two graphs, and that's exactly what you need to do all the time when you're working with the foreign exchange market. Now I realize the FRQs will ask you to graph only one of these out, they won't ask about the other, but for your benefit, to make sure you're doing everything the correct way, I recommend that you do both side by side. And before we go any further, let me go over what all of these symbols mean. So, right, first of all, whatever we see as the denominator, that is going to determine the market, right? So this is the dollar market, and this over here will be the euro market. The supply of the dollar, who supplies the dollar? Well, of course, the US does. And the demand of the dollar, who demands the dollar? The world demands the dollar. And the same thing goes over here. Right, this is the euro market. Who supplies the euro? Europe does. And who demands the euro? Well, the rest of the world will demand the euro. Now, the ER stands for exchange rate. In other words, that's the price we are paying for that currency. Now, before we start working with these, I have to go over some rules and, of course, the shifters. And then we'll come back here and then we'll work something out to see how these graphs work together. So let's go over the rules, right? So the three rules to live by. If one supply curve will have to move, but on the other graph, the demand curve will have to move. You cannot move both supply curves or both demand curves. One will have to be a supply curve, the other will have to move the demand curve, or vice versa. The second thing you need to know is that they move in the same direction. I don't mean physically the same direction. I mean if one increases, like for example, demand increases for the dollar, then the supply of the euro will have to increase. Why? Well, they have to supply the euros to buy the dollars. If the demand for the dollar decreases, well, then the supply of the euro will decrease. If they're not buying our stuff, obviously they're not going to be flooding the market with euros to buy dollars, so the supply will decrease. And last but not least, one currency will appreciate, the other will depreciate. What does that mean? Well, if the value of the dollar goes up, we can say that there is appreciation of the dollar. If the value of the dollar goes down, we can call that depreciation of the dollar. Same thing with the euro, right? Same thing with the euro. So one of these will have to appreciate and the other will have to depreciate. And now the shifters, right? The shifters are tastes, right? If we develop a taste for fancy European cars, then we're going to be demanding more euros because we want to buy their cars, right? Price level. If the prices here in the United States keep going up because of inflation, it's going to make it harder for other countries to buy our stuff. Income. The more money we make, the more money we spend. And if we're going to spend our money, we're going to spend it buying luxury foreign goods. Last but not least, like I was saying, last but not least, interest rates. Now, I don't want you to think of these interest rates as we're going to go borrow money at the bank. Obviously, when we want to borrow money, we want the lowest interest rate possible. When I'm referring to interest rates here, I'm referring, that doesn't look like a very good arrow. I am referring to the bond market. Right, so obviously, if we're going to buy bonds as an investment, we want the highest interest that we can get. So if Australia is offering 12% on their bonds right now, a lot of investors are going to be flooding Australia with money because they want to buy their bonds. All right, so let's work out an example, see how the graphs would work in conjunction with each other. So in this particular case, we have Americans are grilling more bratwurst than ever before. Those of you who don't know, bratwurst are delicious German sausages. So, if this is true and Americans are grilling more bratwurst than ever before, we can safely say that the United States is going to be demanding more euros, because if you're a German butcher, you want to get paid in euros, not dollars, right? So we have to demand more euros. And in order for us to buy those euros, we have to supply more dollars in the Forex market. All right, now let's go over the three rules, right? I moved demand on one, I moved supply on the other. Demand increased, but so did supply. The euro appreciated and the dollar depreciated. All right, good. You can see how we can use those three rules to make sure our work is correct. Now, I'll put up a couple of, at least one more video this weekend with at least 2 or 3 other examples for you guys to look at and study. If you guys have any questions about any of this, please feel free to drop a comment down below or send me a message on Remind.